We should be live now. Welcome, everyone. I see Everett watching in Florida. Hello, Kevin. Hello to Kendra from Georgia. I see the Mooser family. Calliope, good to see you. Hello to Liz from Tampa, Florida. And Evalie in Maine. I see Sol and Lily watching in Baltimore. And I have a special guest today. This is Ray Troll. Everyone say welcome to Ray.
Hello. Thanks for having me here, Science Mom.
Of course.
I just live a couple blocks away.
That's right. We are neighbors. Yeah. And Ray, if you don't know, Ray is a famous artist.
Oh, yeah.
And
in small circles.
In small circles. He designed this shirt that I'm wearing right now and
mine too.
And that one too. And Ray has a really awesome book about sharks called Sharkabet. And Sharkabet has a second edition coming out right now. And do you know what week this is right now?
Well, Shark Week.
It's Shark Week. There is a National Shark Week. So this lesson is going to be all about sharks.
Sharks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
who doesn't love sharks, you know?
Sharks are incredible.
Kids really love sharks, but I love sharks, and I just love sharks. They're so cool.
They are incredible. Now, and I'm curious if any of our viewers know what makes sharks different than other fish.
Oh, I know. But
I bet our students know as well. What makes sharks different than other fish? We actually have a shark jaw right here that came up that was caught while fishing.
Yeah. So here in Alaska, we actually do have sharks. People often think about sharks as only being like in the tropics or like Hawaii or Australia, that kind of thing. But sharks are all over the world. They're in the oceans, of course. And we do have them here in Alaska, and this is a salmon shark. And salmon sharks are pretty common here in Alaska. And you know why they're called salmon sharks?
They eat salmon?
They like to eat salmon. Yes, they do. And so they actually will follow the salmon right up to the streams when they return home to spawn in the streams. And so sometimes there's sharks that are following them. Sometimes they'll congregate in big numbers. But yeah, this is a salmon shark jaw. This is... They're related to great white sharks, but they've got these really needle-sharp teeth. So I learned a long time ago not to bring these to classrooms because kids would want to touch them, but they're very, very sharp teeth.
If you put that right here, I've got a closer camera where we can kind of zoom right in. Look how sharp those are.
They are sharp. And hey, there is one thing we're going to talk about this in just a little bit, but notice that there's a conveyor belt of teeth.
Oh, you can see them right.
Look at the rows and rows that are coming out.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to make us small so that we're not blocking the view. There we go.
Yeah. Look at that. So that's one thing that distinguishes sharks from other fish is they are producing teeth throughout their life. Do you know the average shark produces 30,000 teeth in their lifetime?
Whoa.
I'm not making that up. 30,000. So what's happening when that little conveyor belt, it's basically like a conveyor belt. You know how many teeth we humans get?
Something like 52, right?
That's right, 52. You're born with 20, and then those are replaced by your adult teeth, and you get 32 of those. And they push out the other teeth. And that's exactly what's going on with sharks, except they're just doing it all the time. Imagine if we had 30,000 teeth in our lifetime, which would be kind of cool. But what would happen is you'd always be losing your teeth. And that's why shark teeth are the most common vertebrate fossil. Because they're shedding them all the time. But when they bite something, they'll break a tooth. And actually, you can see there's a couple of broken teeth in this one right here. See this tooth right here, right there?
Yeah.
And broken.
And that one there?
Yeah, and that was broken right there. But then also, they'll just wear them out because the next one is coming in. So that's one thing to really think about with sharks is they really are all about teeth. But you know, the other thing is, Science Mom, they don't have a single bone in their body.
And that's what...
They got no bones. It's crazy.
That's what Ivy and Gabby and several other students said. They said sharks have a skeleton of cartilage. That's what makes them different.
That's right. And actually here on our little iPad, we can see that salmon shark, and I'll zoom in on this. That's the salmon shark right there. But let's look at the difference between sharks and bony fish. Should we just do that?
Yeah.
So sharks have skeletons, but they're not made of bone, okay? They're made of cartilage. And you know what cartilage is?
That's what you got right here in your nose.
And your ear is cartilage.
Yep.
So there's no bones. It doesn't show up on an x-ray. Well, it does kind of an x-ray, but yeah, it's flexible. So sharks' bones are made of cartilage. And so that makes them really bendy, and they can really twist their bodies around and do very fast speed with that. So, and actually paleontologists have looked at that, and sometimes they used to think that that was a more primitive condition that first came the cartilage, and then, it got better. And so it became bone. Well, actually, it turns out it looks like there were bony fish first, and sharks kind of improved in the bone and split off from that. So, and I kind of covered that a little bit. So I don't want to go too deep into all that.
That's right, because,
that way science.
Because we're going to draw today.
But one of the things, too, I just want to point out is that the number of species. So what we call the bony fish is osteichthyans. That means means osteological, means bone. Mm-hmm. But chondrichthyans, that's what the sharks and the ghost sharks and the chimeras and your skates and your stingrays, they're all in that group. And there's about 500 species of sharks alive today. 500. And when you compare that to the bony fish, 30,000.
Whoa.
So 500 species of what we would call true sharks, but then there's about 500 species of, well, actually 630 species of rays and skates, if you look at that. So they are also in the shark group. And some scientists like to, actually I do it too, I call them pancake sharks, because they're basically get all the parts and they're just flattened. So think of it as pancake. Yeah, so it's got all the same parts. So they're in that same group. And that group is called the elasmobranchs within the cartilaginous fish. But then there's this weird group called the chimeras, and I also called ratfish. And there's only 50 species of those. So altogether, there's roughly 1,000 species of the cartilaginous fish, aka the shark family, is what I'll talk about, as compared to the 30,000. So, relatively, it's a bony fish world out there, but the sharks are cool, ancient members of the whole vertebrate tribe.
Awesome. So, and we ought to mention real quick the art supplies we're using, because you're going to show us how to draw a shark, but we'll also just share some really cool shark facts. So
shark factoids. So you want to talk about what we're drawing with?
Yes.
Yeah. So I like to, actually, when I did Sharkabet, and the first edition came out about 20 years ago, and the second edition, I've done some new drawings for it. So it's been revised. But what I like to draw with, and actually every drawing that's in the Sharkabet book has been done on black paper. So that's a finished drawing. But what I'd like to do is draw on black paper with Prismacolor pencils. These are colored pencils that have a little extra pigment in them, so they show up on black paper. Your crayons, they'll work on white paper, but there's so much wax in a regular old crayon that it's not going to really show up when you try to draw with a white crayon on this. It's almost transparent. So these drawings that are all done in Sharkabet, and in a little bit, we'll actually draw some sharks for you.
Okay.
We can all draw along, because I really think that drawing is a powerful learning tool. When you draw something, you know something, you learn something about it. And if you study real hard, if you look at your subject matter, you're really imprinting that in your brain.
I love that. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So before, it looks like you've got a great white shark sketched out that will be drawn. Is that right?
Yes, I did it very lightly, because sometimes, when I have 500 kids watching me, I like to at least
have an outline.
have a little bit of an outline.
But before we get to that, we're going to show you just a couple examples of sharks from Ray's Sharkabet book, because you've got some really cool combo of extinct sharks and everyday living sharks today.
Yeah. So with Sharkabet, we've got almost 1,000 species to choose from these days, and so I came up with a cool shark for every letter. But because I love dinosaurs and the prehistoric stuff, there's a lot of cool extinct sharks, sharks that lived a long time ago. Most kids know about Megalodon, But I like the weirder, more strange and unusual. And if they're strange, I'm interested in it. So
this one really is weird. In fact, Kendra just said, "That used to exist!" Exclamation point.
Yes. So this one, and actually wherever I've gotten, so if I zoom in on some of these things, it says extinct. All right. So there, this one is long ago extinct. It lived during the Carboniferous period.
And why do we think it grew this massive anvil on its back?
Yeah, so it's called the anvil shark. That's one of the common name. It's the dorsal fin, which is the top fin, and we'll go through shark anatomy here in a bit. But the shark fin, that first fin, has got shark teeth on it, basically teeth.
Wow.
And they might actually be shark actual teeth. Sometimes shark denticles are actually very tooth-like, and those are basically the scales on a shark. Mm-hmm. But it's got this weird assemblage. There's a lot of different theories about that, and no one can really know for sure what that is about. It might be to just look cool, to attract a mate, perhaps. Maybe it's used in courtship, but maybe it's also kind of a defensive weapon. Mm-hmm. You don't want to mess with something that's got these prickly things on it, and basically it's also got teeth on top of its head, tooth-like denticles.
Angela asks, how big was the anvil shark?
Actually, the anvil shark, some of them, and this also falls within a group called the stethecanthid sharks. And the average ones are maybe 2 or 3 feet long, all right? It was a beautiful fossil. This one is from Scotland, mm-hmm. but there were larger ones that maybe got to 6, 7, and 8 feet long. So kind of your average shark thing. But we don't know what that's all about, but there's a scientist who described this one, and they actually did some hydrodynamic tests, so see how it would swim through the water, and it maybe didn't slow them down and help speed them along.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of things, but that's kind of the cool thing, especially about extinct things. There's a lot of curiosity about them, but you can test these things, and science will reveal more, but maybe it's something the kids can figure out.
And when did it go extinct? That was another question that came up in the chat.
They don't, they're not around on the planet for all that long. That lineage disappears probably about 250 million years ago would be my guess. There's a big extinction event that happened 250 million years ago, the Permian extinction, and a lot of creatures didn't make it through that. Yeah. So back in the Paleozoic, a long time ago, sharks were much more diverse. There were a lot of different species of them. And so here, letter B. Now this one, I'm like, you can tell I like the extinct ones, don't you? And I really like the weird ones. This one is probably the weirdest one of all, and it is called we call it the buzzsaw shark now. I've been chasing the shark for almost 30 years now, and I work with a group of scientists. We figured out where this weird coil of teeth. You want to cut to that?
Yeah.
Check this out.
Zoom in just a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is a mold of an actual fossil.
Yes.
That's so cool.
So in the first edition of Sharkabet, this was letter H, helicoprion. Helico means spiral and prion means saw, so spiral saw. And this was first discovered in 1899 in Russia. And then actually fossils of this have been found all over the world. They're from the Permian period, about 270 million years ago. But remember, I was talking about that conveyor belt of teeth, right? They're producing teeth all the time and shedding them. We only get 2 sets. That's it. So sad. But sharks cranking them out all the time. But this is one, I like to say, that cheated the tooth fairy. The tooth fairy really loves sharks because they're making teeth all the time. But this is one that cheated the tooth fairy because it kept its teeth as it grew. But what is even weirder about it, if you remember the shark jaw that I was showing you. Here, I'll grab, ouch, Betty. Sharp teeth.
Those teeth are sharp.
Yes, they are very sharp. Here, so you can see this conveyor belt of teeth, but now, and they're cranking them out and they're shedding them. So as the shark is getting larger, it's producing bigger teeth. You can see bigger teeth back here, and there's smaller teeth. So it's actually, these are fully formed, and then they move forward. Not rapidly, they grow, all right? So this one, ouch, really literally, that does. Next time I'm going to file those down. But this is now a spiral of teeth that's in the center of the lower jaw. Okay.
And
it's in the center of the lower, and these are the new teeth
and these
that
are
are being formed
teeth
in the gums. So the teeth are manufactured in your gums. All vertebrates, the teeth are formed. The full size are going to be. You don't get a tiny tooth that gets bigger. You get a tiny tooth and that's it. And then it either falls out, but this one kept it. So these are the baby teeth right here in the center, and it kept it. This is what they call counterintuitive. In other words, it's not, at first, it doesn't make sense. But when you learn more about it, so that's why these teeth here, and actually what's cool about these too is that in the fossils, you can see that they're serrated. So serrations on a tooth mean it helps it cut better. So what this shark was doing, and we call it the buzzsaw shark because it looks like a saw, is sharks don't chew per se. They just chop. They bite. They're not mammals like us that, chew things.
No molars.
Yeah.
They just bite and then gulp.
They're right. No molars for chewing that stuff. They bite and gulp. And so if you cut your prey in two, and especially if you cut their tail off, they're not going anywhere. And so, and predators today do this sometimes. There's actually sharks that specialize and other bony fish that specialize in attacking from below. And if you, like snip a tail, boom, no problem. So this is basically in the top jaw. They had flat teeth, and so almost like a cutting board, and kind of in a groove. So that is my theory about this. Once again,
they're extinct, so you can't go watch them eat.
But beautiful fossils of this have been found in Idaho mostly. We also have them in Texas. I think there's one spot in California where they've been found. But yeah, there's lots of these that come out. The most beautiful fossils of helicoprion, the buzzsaw shark, come from Idaho. So enough about that one. Otherwise, I could talk for another.
And Calliope wants to know, when are we going to start drawing? I think we should. Okay. We'll share maybe one more cool shark. So we've done ABC.
Let me just do one more. Okay.
One more. Okay.
Well, two more. I got. I'm looking at the time. What is our time?
9:17. So we're
good. We're good. All right, this one. The first edition of this book has been out for about 20 years, and I know after talking to a lot of kids about this one, they love this shark. This is the cookie cutter shark. It's a living shark.
Not extinct. Still
not extinct.
Today.
But Science Mom, have you ever seen a fish with lips, a shark with lips like that?
That is truly bizarre.
Very bizarre. So notice this. In the lower jaw, there's a triangular teeth, and the upper jaw are like little pegs. And this is a crafty little shark.
It's small, right?
It's small, only about 2 or 3 feet long.
Is that a marlin in the background?
That is a marlin in the background, yes. It's a very high-speed fish, and look, it's being bitten right there by the cookie cutter shark right there. So check that out. And then back here's a dolphin tail, and there's a bite.
Whoops.
It's been taken out of it. See the
right
bite?
There.
Perfect little Oreo cookie sized little bite. And so this guy waits for a predator to come after it. Okay? And it lures them with this glowing belly.
Ooh.
But it can also disappear with that. So it can also match the light behind it and kind of disappear. So it confuses the predator. The predator comes at it. This is my theory, but it's also been a published theory that it grabs on with the upper teeth and then it cuts with the lower teeth, and it takes a perfect little circular bite out of its victim. And so there's been lots of dolphins that have been found, whales.
There's a tuna.
There's a tuna over there. There's even back here, if you look here, here's a couple of them that are checking out a submarine. And this is actually this is a true story. In the 1970s, and they only recently figured this out, not too long ago, like 50 years ago, there's a rubber cowling that's on the front of submarines. And they were coming back to the base in Hawaii, and there's these little bites taken out of it.
Out of the rubber.
Out of the rubber. And they said, what was that? And it turns out it was cookie cutter sharks that were confused, taking bites out of their victims.
Of the submarine. Oh, that's hilarious.
So that's a cool thing. So we can talk about glowing sharks too. G is for dogfish. E is for eagle shark. This is an extinct shark. I can babble on about that, but we won't. But I wanted to get up to, well, this is a goblin shark.
Those have such strange noses.
Yes. And notice that they have a very long nose, and that upper jaw can really pop out. But what do you think that long nose is all about? Actually, it relates to this one right here. And I just want to mention this.
Ooh. So that's a hammerhead shark. I recognize that one.
Yeah, hammerhead. So just to, reinforce the idea that's see, there's the hammer. See, get the joke. So, yeah. So I do that. So hammerhead, we call it a hammerhead because it looks like a hammer, right? So we call it a buzz shark because it looks like a buzzsaw shark. But there's a couple of different theories and this is a living shark. There's different species of hammerheads. There's the great hammerhead. Love the great hammerhead. I like the not so great hammerhead, the good hammerhead. Well, what do you think that head's about?
I always wondered if it was peripheral vision, like the eyes further out on their heads, they can see around them better.
They can't probably see in stereo, kind of, that's, eyesight is one thing.
But you wouldn't have to grow a head that big to get good peripheral vision.
Yeah. So it turns out, and it also might help actually in their steering through the water, hydrodynamics, the dynamics of moving through water, hydro meaning water, but also that big head is covered with electrosensors. And that's another thing that sets them apart from the bony fish. So all sharks, all skates and stingrays, and even the lowly ratfish, they have electric sensors. We have 5 senses. Sharks have a 6th sense. And that 6th sense is they sense electricity. And this head, if you zoom in, you see there's these little polka dots on it.
Yeah.
Every shark nose and every ratfish nose or stingray that you look at has got those little like holes. And those are actually, they're almost like wires that go right into their brain, and it helps them sense electricity. And that's so that they're looking for a place they can plug themselves in.
Ampule Lorenzini, right?
That's a joke.
That's the.
They're called the ampullae of Lorenzini. There was a guy named Lorenzini in the 1500s said, "Hey, what's this stuff? It's these things that are going into the brain." So it turns out they're sensing electricity. And the thing is, you are making electricity right now. I'm making electricity because I'm moving. My heart is beating. So that produces electricity. So sharks,
but very, very small amounts.
Small amounts, yeah. But you're making electricity, and we don't even understand what that's like because we don't have that sense. But they can feel you when you're in the room because, they can see your heart is beating. So they don't need to see you or smell you. They can smell you very well, but yeah. So that's really one of the main reasons, because if you're a stingray hiding in the sand, the hammerhead can actually sense where you're
the
at.
Heartbeat. That's incredible.
And then one last shark. All right, just one last. All right, there's so many cool ones. This one is really cool. The kitefin shark. Their bellies glow in the dark. 10% of sharks actually glow in the dark. 10%, so 50 to 500 species.
And is that for countershooting so they can match the light above them?
That's right. It helps them disappear. So if you're looking at it from below, and that's where a lot of predators hunt from below, and they look up to see a silhouette. But if you're matching that light coming in, you disappear essentially. Lemon sharks. But this one, I just wanted to mention the biggest shark of all time, Megalodon. Mega and meaning big, and don meaning tooth. Megalodon.
It's huge.
So yeah.
That's another extinct one.
Indeed it is.
All right. So now hopefully you have several ideas for different sharks you could draw. And if you don't have black paper, don't worry. You can use any type of paper that you have. But Ray is going to show us how to draw a great white on black paper.
Yes, I am. So, all right. So the deal is, when you're drawing on black paper, is that you're drawing, let me just flip this over for a second here, and I'm going to grab a white pencil. When you're drawing, here's a sphere, there's a little circle. Instead of drawing the shadows as you do when you're drawing on white paper, you're basically, drawing with a dark pen, like a black pencil on white paper or whatever color is darker. But now you're reversing it. So the harder I press, this is with a white pencil, you can see I can get grays, but if I press harder, it becomes,
You get a nice white highlight.
get a nice white. And if I press really hard, I get a super white like that. So I get a highlight. So I start thinking about the light coming in from this direction, but also I can think about light that's maybe even bouncing back. So a lot of what I do sometimes, because a lot of these sharks are in the water, and there's kind of blue color around them all the time. I like to put a little blue so it's kind of bouncing back. So light is coming down this way, and the light is coming that way too. But I'm just going to concentrate on that. So I'm going to take a gray pencil and Mediterranean blue, and this one, slate gray, is one of my favorite colors for drawing sharks. So the first thing I do when laying out, I've kind of lightly sketched this in so I know where to go, but our shark parts. So the first thing you do is let's do the shape. So kids, we're going to do like a big, long, oblong shape, sort of like a sausage, if you will, or a cigar. So I'm going to do this line first. That's the back of the shark. And we'll draw a great white shark. I'm using a light gray pencil here. So that's the back of the shark. And then actually, I'm nerding out a little bit. There's a little dip right before you get to the tail of a great white shark that's called the pre-caudal notch. Caudal meaning the tail. Is that on camera there? All right.
I'm just going to give you a little more room.
Okay, there's that.
There we go.
So I'm going to just basically outline this. So there's that pre-caudal notch, and then the upper part of the caudal fin, otherwise known as the tail for most folks, is taller than the lower fin. So we go up. Then back here, there's also a little notch right there in the great white sharks. So that kind of pokes out like that. And I come down here sort of a moon shape. And that's the lower part of the caudal fin. And there's that notch again. And then as we come back, there's going to be two sets of fins here. So, and I'll go ahead and, of course, one of the most distinctive features on a shark is about halfway up that sausage shape there, the hot dog shape. There is the dorsal fin, okay? And that's a very distinctive thing. So we want to put a dorsal fin, meaning top. The top fin goes right there. And actually, as you come down, it's kind of a swooping gesture like that. But then there's actually a little divot goes in like that, okay? So there's that. Now when I come back here, there's, what's your doggy's name?
This is Lopin.
Lopin.
Also known as a carpet shark. He's got on a little shark costume.
He's a carpet shark today.
Yeah, he is.
But he's a dogfish. So letter D. So that's the first. I'll label these two. So let's do dorsal. DORSAL. And
then,
yeah, we're not on that camera.
Yep.
So there's one dorsal fin, and then there's a second dorsal fin, and it's a triangular shape. But then, if you want to get really fancy about it, you come in, you do that triangle, but then you cut it in a little notch right there. So that's the second dorsal, DORSAL, second dorsal. So, and then that come back there. There's that little notch, and then this is the caudal or tail fin right there, and then there's a notch there.
And then just slide it down. There we go. Now
Okay,
I can see
all right. So,
and do all sharks have a second dorsal fin, or just most of them?
Most of them do, but in dogfish, actually, there's about 70 species in the dogfish group within the sharks. They don't have that second. This is an average kind of shark, and another thing that distinguishes the dogfish group, they usually have a poisonous spine, fin spine, that you got to watch out for, and they have two of them. So dogfish has that. But so we're coming back here. But one thing that all sharks, their mouth is not on the end of this little hot dog shape. Okay.
Mhm.
Their mouth is back. So it's back here. It's not right here. Bony fish, the mouth is really at the tip. With sharks, you go back a little bit. Okay.
Is that so they can have the ampullae of Lorenzi, all those sensors in the front?
The ampullae of Lorenzini.
Lorenzini.
Lorenzini, like linguini, Lorenzini. But people just call it the ampullae, or the electrosensors. But, that's a good idea, really. So they're out front.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And on a goblin shark, they have that really long nose. They're covered with electrosensors. Mm-hmm. So basically, they can hunt for prey in the complete blackness and not see anything. And they know, and they can smell very well, too. So anyways, an underslung mouth. Then we come back here. And then, so obviously there's a mouth. There's an eye. And the eye on a great white shark is right about here. The weird thing about great white sharks, their eye is completely black. So if you ever see like a pupil in it, that's been done incorrectly. So it's weird. They've got a pupil in there, but it's black on black. Sharks also, they can smell you. So they can see you, they can smell you, they can touch you, they can taste you, but they can also sense you. But they have a nose, a nostril. So all sharks, and actually bony fish have it too, but they'll have a nostril. And it's kind of a water in and water out. So it's kind of a little W shape. That's right there. And you'll see on a great white shark. But then also there will be those little tiny dots. And then this is back a little bit. And then, of course, there's the teeth in there. We'll put those in there. As we come back, but let's put the rest of our fins on. We need to do that first. So here's the pectoral fin, the first set of pectoral fins right there. Okay, and there's two of those.
One on each side.
So, yeah, one on either side. They're sort of like the arms of the shark. You have pectoral muscles. Pectoral means basically like in the chest area. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be two. So I'm going to stick a second one there. So it's slightly at an angle. Okay. Then when I come back here, so that is a pectoral fin. Pectoral. Basically like the arms. Sharks can't flap those fins. Okay. They don't flap them. Ratfish flap them. Manta rays and stingrays flap them, but sharks, they're not going to be moving those. They're just down. They're like rudders. They're like a rudder. So those they hardly move at all. They're kind of rigid. So on a great white shark, so we're going back here, there's the big belly. And then there is the second set of paired fins, and these are almost like the legs of a shark. In other words, they are the pelvic fins. So we have a pelvis, basically, So they've got two of those. And then back here, there's another fin, and it's not directly below that second dorsal fin. There's another fin right here. This is the bottom fin that kind of matches that top one. And then you come back up. So those are all the parts, except we've forgotten something else.
Gills?
The gills. Bony fish basically have a gill slit. Sharks, the average shark has 5. Okay? There's a couple species that have 6. There's one that has 7 gill slits, but the average shark has 5. And basically, the water goes in and the water goes out. And basically, they're breathing through these gills. And there's 1. And with a white shark, it's kind of a little L shape. 1. And as they go back, they're a little bit smaller. 2, 3.
And we had a good question.
4, 5.
We had a good question from earlier from one of the students about how can they swim so fast if they're not flapping their pectoral fins? Where does their motion come from?
The tail.
The big tail.
So with a big ocean-going shark, they're going to have a very strong, very forked tail in the back. So it's the tail. It's that side-to-side movement. They go so fast, too, that precaudal notch. And actually, the top view, if you looked at a great white shark, there's a kind of almost a second, there's a flare right there. Keel is what that's called right there. Mm-hmm. So anyways, there, and I'm going to determine where basically the shark is gray and white, and they're called a great white shark because they have white bellies. And why do you think they have a white belly?
Ooh, so one of the kids in the chat was talking about it. I think it might have been Ivy, or they were mentioning that, or maybe it was Calliope. They were talking about how it's counter shading, that if they're white underneath,
right,
and a fish underneath looking up at them, the sunlight's coming through the water and the water's brighter when you look up. And if a fish is white on the bottom, then you can't see him very well if you're underneath him.
Right. So counter shading. And actually, even if you look at mammals running around, dogs, it's like, why do they have like lighter bellies? It's also that counter shading thing. So if you look at the distance, but basically it's about that light that's coming down from above. Mm-hmm. So you look at it from above or even from the side, and it's got a white belly. If you look at it from underneath. So let's just start coloring this in. So I'm going to take slate gray. So we've got all the parts, and I've determined where. So there's actually on a great white shark, there's kind of a jagged line. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's sort of wavy.
Yeah, sort of a wavy line. And it's kind of a cool feature of great white sharks. And I've been sketching with this. And one of the things, too, if you're making a mistake, I like to use a kneaded eraser. There's a kneaded eraser, so I can erase stuff. And that's the beauty of drawing. So let's just start filling in our, take a great, okay.
And then Liz asked, what's the name of the tail again? The caudal tail.
Caudal, caudal. But
Yep.
Basically a tail. But that's
the caudal fin, is the back fin.
Yes. There's actually one other thing, too, kind of a different sensory organ that bony fish and sharks have, and that is a lateral line.
Oh, that lets them sense like little tiny pressure changes in the water, right?
Right. So it's almost like, with sharks, a seventh sense in a way, because they can feel, but it's really more of a sensory thing that like touch almost, but they can feel motion in the water. So if you look at a salmon, you'll see a line that goes right down their side. So that line in the shark is right about here. And it goes like this, kind of looping there. And then it kind of matches, goes right in there. And so that's sensing vibration. So, like I said, a shark really doesn't even have to look at you. It knows where you are through a lot of these other senses. But now, notice this paper has a little bit of texture to it too, which is nice. And I'm just roughing this in. But I got my outline first, right?
Yeah, and then start filling it in.
I start filling it in, but then as I'm filling it in, I'm listening to music, I'm talking to my friends.
And we should talk a little bit about misconceptions with sharks, because they're kind of I think they're a misunderstood animal.
Well, next time I'm bringing my own pencil sharpener. Yours growls at me every time I'm sharpening my pencil.
It is a noisy one.
Well, they get a bad rap, but we're fascinated with them. They're dangerous. They can be dangerous. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about. There's 500 species. Most of them mellow sharks. But they have no interest in you. You're not anything they want to eat at all. But there's about 5 or 6 species that really are pretty they're big, hungry predators.
So you wouldn't want to go swimming with a great white shark?
Not a good idea. Nope. No. You could do it in controlled situations too, where you're in a shark cage or something, but they're really, they're in their element in the ocean. Right. And then when we're in their element, basically we'd come over to their house. We're down in the water with them. And these guys have been around a long time on the planet. And but they generally, if you're shark smart, right, you don't need to. There are so few shark attacks in the world on the average. There's very few fatalities that happen. And it's very rare.
Shark bites, when there are agencies that kind of try and track shark bites every year, and they distinguish between provoked bites and unprovoked bites. Because a provoked bite is like if you're fishing and you catch a shark and then you're trying to hook it off, get the hook out to release it, and if it kind of bites you as you're have your hand in its mouth taking the hook out, that's a provoked bite. But unprovoked bites, they're usually less than 50 a year.
There you go. You've got some of the stats.
Yeah.
And the fatalities, there's maybe about 10 in the entire world. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot more things that are actually more dangerous than that. And so... But we have great white sharks even here in Alaska. It can be a cold water shark. So I'm filling this in. Basically, I've just taken my gray pencil on this black paper. Do you think some of the kids have black paper?
I bet some do. Let us know if you have a moment to type in the chat. Let us know if you have black paper.
So,
and another thing I wanted to ask you about, because this is a great white that we're drawing, does it have to keep moving and swimming to breathe?
Yes, there are some. There's not all sharks. That used to be, people think all sharks have to keep moving or they'll die. Like a wobbegong or a nurse shark, they don't need to do that. They'll just sit on the bottom and they can pump water over their gills. These guys have to keep moving. So keep the water moving over the gills. Yeah.
So the great white, there's no such thing as taking a nap. It has to always be swimming, always be moving. Does it?
But they can kind of maybe turn their brain off.
They
I can do that.
Sleep half their brain at a time.
But you can see what I'm doing too is here. I'm thinking about the light coming down from up there, and I'm just drawing harder with that. So I'm really roughing this in, but you can see I'm letting off on the pressure, and I'm bringing out some of those things, filling stuff in. But now I run out of the areas that I'm going to take.
So, Ray, you'll be glad to hear Melinda, Calliope, Charlie, lots of students have black paper.
Oh, nice.
And some are using other materials. Someone's using Procreate. Gabby's using Procreate. And
some are drawing digitally?
White paper. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
CS Ronan has black paper. So if you've never tried drawing on black paper, if you don't have it now, it's a fun thing to experiment with. If you get some in the future, you can just use these same tips that Ray's showing right now about counter shading and thinking about where the light's coming from. And instead of shading, I feel it's more like lightening, like you're drawing the highlights.
Right. Yeah. You're not shading, you're lightening. So I'm going to put a little highlight. I'm going to put a little so I can see the eye. Because the weird thing, like I said about great white sharks, is their entire eye is black. But now, let's go with that white belly. And I've got a very light blue. It's called sky blue light. But if you've got a white crayon or white pencil, do the same thing. I'm going to go right along that line.
And Potato Chip and a couple other students pointed out that more people die from vending machines and Christmas trees every year than from sharks.
I think they've read my book, haven't they? There used to be that statistic. Well, I mean, pigs can be actually kind of dangerous, and I think pigs kill more people than sharks. Honeybees, people are allergic to honeybees.
Yeah.
Spiders, snakes, alligators. The thing is, they're wild creatures, but I think that's why we're so interested in sharks, because we are animals too. We are mammals, and we worry about staying alive. We want to stay alive. So we pay attention to predators.
Yeah.
You should pay attention to predators. If you go walking through a tiger in tiger's den, or where tigers live, or bears, live in Alaska. Mm-hmm. When we go deep into the woods, you got to be aware of the bear, right? Be smart around it. Just travel in a group. So if I had a bleeding finger and it was nighttime, and I was down by the ocean, would that be a good time to go swimming?
No.
Yeah. So there's, sharks can smell. They can smell the blood.
And from really far away too, right?
From really far away. They're notorious for that. There's been tests that have been done with that. But basically, they can sense. It's one of their super senses, And in fact, because great white sharks, they're very sensitive creatures. They're sensitive. They're almost impossible to keep in an aquarium because they're so sensitive. So in other words, they're so fast. Like a salmon shark, nobody's going to even try to keep them in an aquarium. They're even faster than great white. Mako sharks are actually probably the fastest.
They are.
And although I would argue that maybe salmon sharks are right up there with them, because I've seen them come rocketing up out of the water, just like rockets. And now my shark is starting to, and you see them just sort of going in a circular motion, and kind of liking this shark now.
Yeah, I like how it's coming together.
Coming together, and actually this fin is, and actually part of the tail too is
has a little bit of white. And sharks,
I find drawing very relaxing, you know.
It is very relaxing.
It's my happy place. So, but one of the things maybe you didn't see me do there, I was using a slate gray, and then I've come in with a lighter gray to kind of get that light going a little bit more. And then one of the things too, if you punch in a real strong highlight, I see how that just kind of popped
cool. It. Yeah.
That just popped that dorsal fin.
Nice.
And maybe, so I'm thinking about where the light's going to catch. Here, let's do that second dorsal fin.
And, you know, we talk about sharks being fearsome predators, but their impact on the ecosystem is actually really important. Like if we just got rid of all the sharks, the oceans would be in rough shape, right?
Yeah, it'd be in very rough shape. You know, that's the predator and prey relationship that it's a balance that's out there always in the world. So they play a very important role. Like I said, there might be 10 unlucky people that die from an attack in the world. Like I said, super, super rare. But we kill tens of thousands of them every year. And if we pull them out of the ecosystem, it affects the whole system, you know. So predators and preys, then maybe you've got too many puppies.
Yeah, and coral reefs in particular, if they don't have sharks around, you have certain fish populations that will get out of control and they'll destroy the coral. And then it's like the home has been burned down and no one can live there anymore. So they're really important for coral reefs.
I'm going to start bringing in the secondary kind of light source. And we did this when we drew ichthyosaurs. Going to define.
And what color is that?
So this is, I like this. This is one of my favorite colors, the light aqua. And I just started doing this, and after a while, it's like, you know, I'd like to think about the reflected light. So the light coming up helps me define, especially on black paper, helps define the edges. I can fill this background color in with the watercolor and all that. But I'm thinking about light that's maybe kind of bouncing up from the ocean floor but it helps define the other edge of this. And so the lower, and you notice I haven't really even filled in back here. I want to keep that back in the background. I can maybe take a lighter, kind of a light blue. Fill that in a little bit. So it's really all about pressure that you're using on this.
What are some of your favorite shark facts?
Well, mine?
Yeah.
I just shared a bunch of them with you. Fun facts. 30,000 teeth. 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. That's crazy. Some estimates put them up to almost 1 million teeth in some species.
That is wild.
They don't have a single bone in their body. But because they have cartilage skeletons, they don't preserve well in the fossil record. So when all these beautiful spiral of teeth from Helicoprion, the buzzsaw shark, were found, people were only going after the teeth because the teeth preserve beautifully. They're very hard, dentine and enamel. They're preserved in the fossil record, but you don't have the rest of the shark. Every now and then, there are beautifully preserved specimens that have everything in it. So, so many teeth. Let's see. I
think one of my favorite facts about sharks is that the Greenland shark is one of the oldest animals we know of, period. It lives to over 400 years old. And it lives in really deep, cold waters, kind of in the northern seas.
And actually, I am fascinated with that group. Actually, letter S in my new edition of Sharkomet it's in the same genus as the Greenland shark. It's the sleeper shark.
Sleeper shark. Does it also live really, really long?
Well, so there's been some pushback in that 400-year age range.
Really?
Yeah, but there's still research being done on it. Yeah, we know that they are very long-lived. How long-lived has been open to debate, but one of the most recent studies came up with the idea that they don't even become mature until they're 80 years old.
Whoa.
This is the Greenland sharks. 80 years old, and then they finally become mature, and they can have more sharks then.
So they can't reproduce until they're 80 years old.
That's right.
Wow.
Some of the estimates are saying, well, maybe they're not as old as that, but those Greenland shark studies were done on sharks that were about 12 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Alaska, I know for a fact that there have been 20-foot, and even I've talked to one fisherman who's had caught a 25-foot long sleeper shark. Whoa. But it's the same genus as the sleeper shark, as the Greenland shark. And the 400-year-old 12-foot shark over there in the Atlantic, because that's the Atlantic species, that group, we have 20-footers here in Alaska. Mm-hmm. And they're pretty common, but they're way down deep, but they're so long-lived. But yeah, nobody's really done the study in that. Huh. But because there's really interesting science behind how they're doing that aging. And actually, I'm going to bring out the old gill slits, catching a little light here. And then, some finishing touches. Our shark is approaching being finished.
That's good. And I'll share the link in a minute where you can come on and share your art. But I thought it would be nice to do.
Where are we at time-wise?
We're doing pretty well. It's 9:51, so got about 10 minutes to finish up. Oh, and you're using white to highlight the teeth. Oh,
I want to put the teeth in, don't you? You got to put teeth in because they're all about the teeth.
Oh, that adds a lot, that detail there.
Yeah, little details. And so let's punch up some of this here. I'm going to punch up the white here now. Make things brighter, because that's one of the things, too. I've just been kind of drawn with light pressure. But now as I come back, I can put little things. You don't want to put highlights everywhere, but little things like, where it's catching the light.
Mm-hmm. It gives it more of like a wet look.
Yeah, there's a little touch right there. And I'll put a little touch right here. That little bit. We don't really see the nostril now, but we can bring that out. And actually, one of the things, too.
Nice.
And then I can go back in and start injecting some like blue colors into some of this area in here. I can have, instead of aqua light, I can use like a pink highlight, pink light coming in this way, or even, so you start thinking about colors of things. But one of the very last things I do when I'm finishing up these drawings is I come back in with a very, very sharp black. So if I'm drawing black, this is black paper, but it's not truly black. It's a really very dark gray. And this fancier paper, so I was suggesting this is
it's the
Black Arches paper. Mm-hmm. It's a fancy art paper, and this is paper that's not going to fade. Okay, your regular construction paper is going to fade away. Mm-hmm. This Canson paper has got pigment in the paper, so it's not going to fade away. And these colors that are used in the Prismacolors, and that's the biggest enemy of artwork is light, sunlight. And that's what destroys it, just fades it out. But hey, these days, Photoshop fixes everything. So we just do more pixels so we can go back in. And there are some kids drawing on tablets. But I can come back in now.
Evelyn says the shading adds so much depth it makes it look really real.
Yeah.
And so now, are you adding shadows now?
Well, I'm just defining some. I'm going back in. I was going to say this black that I'm using is actually kind of will show up a little bit on black paper. But I can come back in and bring out little edges of things.
And I'm going to ask our moderators to share the link so that people can start getting ready. If you want to come on and share your art, you are welcome to.
Is now the time?
It will be in just a minute. We're going to do a quick review. I made a worksheet for our Misunderstood Animal series. This is the first one, and the next 2 months we'll be doing a different misunderstood animal each week. So let's go through real quick and sort of fill in. What type of animal are sharks?
Are you asking me?
It's a rhetorical question, I guess. Asking the class as well, but yeah, why don't you answer, Ray? What type of animal are sharks?
Well, they are fish.
They are fish.
But some of my scientist friends say they're so different than the bony fish, we should just call them sharks. So they don't like it when I call them fish. So, I mean, that's how different they are from the bony fish.
They're very
so sharks
different.
Are really their own very distinct group within the fish. So, yes, they are fish.
And almost all of them are carnivorous, but we do have one omnivorous shark.
Yeah. But that's
the bonnet head.
Does it really
it's a really good question. Is it eating eelgrass just because it's going after crabs that live in eelgrass?
I don't know that there's any vegetarian sharks.
Yeah,
but that's the thing about
not a vegetarian.
The biggest shark in the world is the whale shark, right? And luckily, it doesn't have a taste for big animals. It's basically inhaling like a big whale.
Yeah.
Schools of fish and plankton, even and so we don't need to worry about. People love to go swimming with whale sharks. They're absolutely. So you saw, I actually took a kind of brighter blue and kind of injected that back into that. See that? It gives it a little bit more.
Nice.
So there's a lot of the subtleties, the little things that you can't. So there's my great white, but I can go in and put. I was penciling out. I can have another big shark coming in over here. And they're good.
Oh, it looks so good, Ray. I love how it turned out.
So I can, and then that upper jaw. So I can have one with a big open mouth. I don't like the position of that eyeball there. See, so I put the eyeball over there. Put the nose there. So you can have a swimmer up here. You put the water line. And it's really good. It's really good if you're making sounds. You're making sound effects while you draw.
While you draw.
Yeah. I'm purring to myself. But yeah. Go ahead.
All right. We'll finish this real fast. So habitat, freshwater, saltwater. Is there such thing as a land shark?
Saltwater.
Saltwater.
There's not a thing. But the thing is, there are some sharks that can go right up into fresh water. Very few. So bull sharks can do that. So it's not uncommon to find sharks in the Mississippi River.
In like tropical areas, warm water.
Tropical areas in the Congo, but actually in the Amazon, bull sharks go 1,000 miles up the river. And actually sawfish, which are basically in the shark family too, go into fresh water. Yeah, and there's a type of stingrays that live in the Amazon totally in fresh water. And they're, like I said, pancake sharks.
And nice job, Potato Chip. Totally, like right as you said, it was like bull sharks. So he knew. Awesome.
Bull sharks are one of the sharks you need to be aware of because they're one of the more aggressive sharks.
And 500 plus species.
500 plus, yes.
Whale shark's the biggest. What about the smallest?
I think you had that little factoid. I think it's actually it falls within the dogfish group.
It's a pygmy. Oh, I'm forgetting the name, but a pygmy something shark. But
only a pygmy dogfish.
Yeah, only a few inches long. Yeah. And then the fastest is the mako.
Mako? Go ahead, Mako my day.
It can travel 54 miles per hour through water in short bursts, which is amazing. Do you want to know what the record is for the fastest 50-meter freestyle for a human?
I'm curious about that, yeah. Tell me.
If we do it in miles per hour, it's 5.3 miles per hour. So could a human outswim a mako?
I don't think so.
Chance.
But I'm putting my money on salmon shark too, so I think they're built like bullets.
Yeah.
If you ever see one, they're just, makos are awesome.
And then we talked about these in our class. Quick little review. Sharks have to swim constantly, otherwise they'll suffocate. That's
some sharks.
Only true for some.
They call it the ram ventilators. So they're the ram ventilator sharks. Ones that actually, great white shark is like that. Oceanic white tips, bull sharks are like that. Keep moving.
Only the ram ventilators.
Yeah.
And sharks don't have any bones. That is true.
Not a single bone in their body.
Not a single bone. And every year, hundreds of people are bitten by sharks while swimming near the beaches of Florida.
Yeah.
That is false.
Wow.
Because it says hundreds. So Not hundreds.
Okay, a bunch.
But yeah, I'd say
maybe a dozen.
Maybe a dozen. Most shark bites do happen in Florida.
Yes, and I was just down at the Florida Museum of Natural History, and they are the ones who are responsible for the International Shark Attack Data File.
Ooh.
So actually, if you want to nerd out, you want to go deep into shark incidents, they like to call them incidents and not attacks. Mm-hmm. So incidents, that the International Shark Attack data files there. So it goes back hundreds of years. So you can really look at those statistics and know that really sharks, while they are dangerous animals, they are not bloodthirsty killers of humans, at least. They are bloodthirsty killers of fish. So anyways, or other sharks.
And we talked a little bit about some of their cool adaptations. The sandpaper skin helps to streamline the water flow. And the person who has the record for the fastest swimming was actually wearing a swimsuit that is now banned in the Olympics that is modeled after shark skin.
Yep. And basically the denticles are kind of like a form of tooth almost.
Yeah.
And they're all pointed back. So I always like to say the only time I've actually been wounded by a shark once. And that's because I was touching it.
Touching the skin.
Yeah. So you can do it in one direction, very smooth. You come back the other direction because they're all pointed this way. They're pointed that way. But when you come back.
Oh.
So when I was on a fishing boat, I was the guy that was we were tagging the sharks for science. But I had to be, holding the shark. And
Okay.
So you couldn't be hurt by a shark by just touching it the wrong way.
Just the skin pushed the wrong way. Yeah. Interesting. And then we talked about the ampullae or the electrosensing, that they're able to detect super faint electrical signals.
I see what you're doing here. Okay.
Conveyor built teeth, lifetime supply, 30,000 teeth, which is amazing. And then their gill slits allowed, they have kind of better oxygen extraction of the water than fish because of their gills.
Ooh, look at that.
And
there's a big word.
Yeah, heterocircle tail. The spinal column actually kind of comes up into that top fin.
Yeah.
And the top fin being longer gives it extra lift.
And the one that's got the super long top tail is letter T, thresher shark. And they use that like a whip to actually smack their prey.
Cool.
Stun their prey first. And I've seen salmon sharks do that too, where they are swimming through a school of salmon and they'll thrash their tail.
To stun the fish.
To stun the fish.
Interesting.
Yeah, knock them upside the head and then eat them.
And now it is time for my favorite part of our lesson. We get to see your art. So
oh boy.
I'm going to turn the volume up real quick. We'll have Opal come on and then Ivy tell us.
You get to see it?
Yeah, tell us a bit about the shark you draw. Hold it up and then we'll go from there. Hi.
Hi.
Tell us about the sharks you drew.
So, I'm not done drawing my fishies, but they're swimming away.
Awesome.
I got some hammerhead sharks down here.
Excellent. I love the shapes, and I love you included all the fins we talked about on that top shark. Great job.
Yeah, I like the scene there with the fish swimming away.
Yeah. Well done. Thanks for sharing, Opal.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We'll have Ivy and then Gabby. Hi, Ivy.
Hi.
You got shark there. Nice.
And it's trying to eat all of these fish, and an octopus, and a jellyfish, and an eel, and a seahorse, and a turtle.
And a turtle. Awesome. Great job.
I love the drama in there. It's a story.
Yeah. And also, I think that this one is just scaring the fish.
Just scaring the fish.
Actually trying to eat them.
It does look like a friendly shark, and I like your shading on the tail. That's a great detail. Thanks for sharing,
Very nice.
Ivy. Bye.
Bye.
We've got Gabby and then Arthur and Lyra.
Hello. I do treasure sharks. I like them a lot.
Oh, that's an awesome thresher shark.
Well, nice and bright too.
Yeah.
Is that on the tablet? Is that the tablet?
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Well done.
So that's one thing. Oh, wow.
And great highlights on the eye. I like the highlights you did on the eye. And then I agree with you. The shape of the thresher shark is awesome.
Turn the brightness down. Wait 1 second, and I'll turn the brightness down a little bit, so that way you can see better without it interfering.
So that's pressure sensitive stylus you were using there, maybe, huh?
Apple pencil.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we can see the shading a little better now.
Yeah.
Yeah, great job, Gabby.
You know, I need to learn how to work with one of those, Gabby.
Good job.
The times.
Thanks for sharing, Gabby.
Nice job.
We've got Arthur and Lyra, and then C.S. Ronan. Hi, Arthur. Hi, Lyra.
I might have it in a bit too much, or maybe not enough.
Oh, I like it. I think it turned out well.
Yes.
Good job.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I like the black paper.
And
oh, wait.
This is I drew a fish that in here, say, and I can't see any shark because the shark has a light bottom to blend in with the sky.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Great detail. Yeah, that little fish is like, I don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And
always good to inject some drama into the drawings.
Yeah, and great job with the counter shading. Thanks for sharing. Bye.
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 And then we have C.S. Ronan and then Kendra Kitten. Hello.
Roman, not Roman.
Roman. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've been saying that wrong for weeks. Thank you for correcting me.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful shading.
You got that shading in there, yeah. It's got a strange working black paper, isn't it? A little different.
Oh, it looks wonderful, though. Great details. And I love the little highlight on the eye and the counter shading. It looks really nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing, C.S. Roman. Bye. We've got Kendra Kitten and then Evalie. Hello.
Hi.
Wow.
Oh, I love the bubbles. Those are very cute sharks. They turned out so nice.
Gosh, you're getting
this is seaweed. This is seaweed. That's a jellyfish. Little fish up there, and some coral.
Oh, nice details. It looks wonderful.
Good job.
Yeah, great job. Thanks for sharing. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We have Evalie and then Calliope. Hi, Evalie.
So,
hold it up high because the window makes it a little hard to see.
I'll turn on the light so you can see better.
See, if she was a kitefin shark, she could hold it up there and the kitefin would have its belly glow and they'd disappear.
That's right. Yeah, just hold it close to the camera when you hold it up. All right, there we go.
There, I can see it. Nice job.
Great
You got the shading going on. Oh, and the mouth is now nice and wide open there.
And it looks like there's some red. Is it feeding? Did it get a fish?
It's eating.
Well done. It's eating. Nice job. And I love the detail with the gills and the counter shading. Great job, Evalie.
And I have another shark.
A bonus shark.
Awesome.
I just quickly doodle it because of mine, but I have a theory. The swordfish does not actually use it for a sword. Use it for a shish kebab.
So the swordfish has fish just as like a fish kebab on the end. That's great.
Should check out sawfish. So they're really cool too. They've got the long nose like that, but they're in the shark group. They got like a saw on their nose.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Great job, Evalie. We've got Calliope.
A shish kebab fish. I
shish
like
kebab
that.
fish.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Calliope and then Colin and Reese. Hi, Calliope.
Hi. I was going to draw a megalodon, but then I decided to make a black tip reef shark.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
You know your sharks.
Black tips.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Did you put the black in afterwards? That looks good.
It does.
Cyanide.
Well done. That turned out beautiful. Thanks
Love
for
it.
sharing.
Love it.
Bye. We have Colin and Reese and then Riddick. Hi, Colin and Reese. Oh, beautiful.
Nice job there in the shade. Oh, you got the water in there too.
Yeah, and some seaweed in the bottom. That looks great.
Yeah.
That's a tiny little sea urchin that I just finished.
Oh, nice.
A little sea urchin.
Great detail there. Oh, I like it.
This is
wait. It's a sibling.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. The blue water really sets it off.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, too. If you add the blue around it, it'll really make the sharks pop against that background.
Those hammerheads look wonderful. Great job.
I made one kind of look like its head is actual hammer.
One where its head looks like an actual hammer. That's so creative. I love it. Thanks for sharing, Colin and Reese.
Bye.
Bye. We have Riddick and then Ari. Hi, Riddick.
So this is mine. I went full imagination with this one.
Full imagination. What all is going on in there? A little hard to see. I can see the shot.
So this is the light from what was that?
I know. It's like the deep water fish with a light.
Yeah.
Like a lanternfish.
Anglerfish.
Yeah, anglerfish. And then
Turn it so
this is like a telescope eye.
Awesome.
So you can see. And these long things will help him like walk on sand.
Nice. I like it. Very creative.
That's one of the things I like is creativity.
Yeah.
You tell about me.
And looking at the prehistoric sharks, you know that there are some weird ones.
And this is my mom's drawing.
Oh, beautiful.
Well, Mom did a very nice job there.
Yeah. Fabulous counter shading.
Good job, Mom.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
And
Bye.
Ray, your picture looks like a picture that took from like undersea. Looks so good.
Thank you. Very kind.
Thanks for sharing, Riddick. Bye. We have Ari and then Violet. Hi, Ari.
Hello, Ari. You have a drawing?
I think you're muted, but show us your drawing. I'm not getting any sound, but can you turn your paper around and show us your paper?
Aha, there it is.
Oh, wow. We've got a shark tooth fairy. I love it.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Ah,
yes. How fun.
Yes, the tooth fairy loves those sharks. They're cranking out teeth all the time.
Oh, and there's a shark tooth on the bottom there that she's finding. I love it.
Love the imagination.
Super creative. Thanks for sharing, Ari.
Good job.
We have Violet and then Xander. Hi, Violet.
I wonder if you have the audio off on them, or
I don't think so. It looks like you're muted. If you just unmute down there. There we go.
There you go.
Oh.
Lovely shark. You get all the parts labeled too. Good.
Great job with the labeling. I love the sharp teeth and those little fish under the bottom. Great details. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Violet.
Have fun with your drawing. That's the key.
We've got Xander and then Zion.
Hello, I'm Xander. This is my drawing. I didn't have black paper.
Oh, that's okay. I like
it. So I use these color pencils. Yeah.
It looks good.
And, the drawing it looks really amazing.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah, Ray did a fabulous job, and I love that you're doing kind of like the opposite because you have white paper.
Yeah, you had to think. Yeah.
Yeah, your shading looks awesome. That looks like a really great shark.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for sharing, Xander. Bye. We've got Zion and then Zion artwork.
Hello. So I'm Zion, and I did my artwork digitally. So
Aha.
Awesome. I actually, let's see, I can, look at that. I can do three at a time. So
wow.
There is the digital artwork. Zion, that looks so great.
Thanks. I used paint on Windows.
Paint on Windows. Awesome.
You've actually already got the other shark kind of lurking in there. You beat me to it, man.
Yeah. That's
so you
cool.
can you like click and fill, or did you like?
I shaded it in personally, so because that would allow for more shading.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it looks great. I love seeing all the variety, and yeah, great job with the digital work. Windows is not the easiest. I've tried drawing in that program before.
I don't know that program.
Next time I'm probably going to use Procreate.
Yeah, I find Windows tough to use, so I'm extra impressed that you did it in that program. Good job.
Thank you.
Wow. I'm learning here today.
Yeah.
Science mom.
Great job.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We've got Charlie and Brent, and then one more after that. Hi, Charlie and Brent.
Hi.
Hi, kids.
So this is my son, and it's only one. I didn't really want to draw.
All right, hold it up just a little bit higher so we can see it. Oh, cool. I like the outline. Very nice.
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah.
So you got the outline, so start filling in some. So play with that, the pressure, and fill that in.
At first, we didn't know that we weren't live, so we didn't really do the steps because we weren't. Well, at least I wanted to be fun. But I did draw some stuff, and I went into the path. So this is a megalodon. It says it right there.
Nice.
This is a normal shark. That's a normal shark in the background.
A lot smaller. Nice.
That's the type of fish called Dunkleosteus, and it can bite force is super strong that it can create like power that can suck in the fish to its mouth.
I love it. Dunkleosteus, which is a bony fish, an armored fish, in fact. Yeah. I like that you know your prehistoric fish. Yeah. Good job, man. So color those in too.
There's a fish getting sucked in, and there's also two fish being eaten by the megalodon. This fish long ago was at the top.
Nice. I love all those details, Charlie. Great job. And keep on.
Night egg.
A night egg, nighttime. A moon.
Yeah, I can put a moon in mine up here.
I'll make it. I think I should make it more look like an egg right now.
Yeah, Matt, that'll appreciate that. Great job, Charlie. And thanks for sharing, Brent. Bye. And then I've got two more down here. I can't see the names, so I'm just going to surprise you and bring you on. Hello. Tell me your name because I couldn't see it.
Wilder.
Hi, Wilder. That looks so great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, good pressure on that, too. I was doing mine light, and you guys really filled it in nice. That looks really good.
I love the teeth. They turned out really, really bright. Great job, Wilder. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
And then we've got one more. I'm just going to surprise you and bring you on because I can't see your name. Hello. Tell us your name.
Hello.
Can you tell me your name really quick? I couldn't see it.
Hello.
Hi. Zoel. Welcome, Zoel. Do you want to share your artwork?
Zoel.
Yep.
Zoel. Do you want to share your artwork?
Thank you.
Oh, I see it.
Oh, nicely done.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, that looks great.
Wow, there it is.
Yeah, beautiful coloring. And I love the kind of purple hue to the underbelly and the counter shading.
Proportions are wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, good job.
And fabulous job with all the fins. Thanks for sharing, Zoel. All right.
It's very finny. It's been a lot of fin being here today.
It has been a lot of fin having you here. Thanks so
Finito.
much. Thanks so much
thanks for having me. And go out and get that Sharkabet book, kids, and draw along. But it's been fun. And
hold up the book again real fast.
Oh, where's that book? There it is.
So if you enjoyed this lesson and like sharks, the second edition of Sharkabet's coming out.
The hammerhead on the back.
It's full of super interesting facts, just like the ones we've been talking about today.
Factoids, and the little dogfish shark here.
Yep.
It's been having fun too. So thanks for having me, Science Mom.
Yep, work hard, grow smart, and we will see you next week.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.